Captain Jake Morrison stared at the display screen on the bridge of the UES Defiant. The numbers made no sense. 3 massive energy readings were moving toward Earth from the edge of the solar system. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. How long until they reach us? Morrison asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Ben Torres checked his instruments twice before answering. 6 hours, sir. Maybe less if they speed up. Morrison had been in command of the Defiant for 3 years. The ship was Earth's newest defense vessel, built to protect the colonies on Mars and Europa from asteroids and space pirates. He had never expected to face something like this. Any response to our messages? He asked. Dr. Lisa Hamilton looked up from her communication station. She had been trying to contact the unknown ships for 2 hours. Nothing, Captain. I've tried every frequency we know. They're not answering. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had been searching for alien life for over a century. They had found nothing. No signals, no ships, no signs of intelligent life anywhere in the galaxy. Earth seemed completely alone in the universe. Now 3 massive alien ships were heading straight for their home world, and they would not talk. Admiral Collins wants to speak with you, Torres said, pointing to the communication screen. Admiral Frank Collins appeared on the screen. His face looked tired and worried. He was in charge of Earth's entire defense fleet, but everyone knew the fleet was small. Earth had only 12 major warships and a few dozen smaller vessels. Morrison, what's your status? Collins asked. We're moving to intercept, sir. The Defiant and the other ships in our group should reach them in 4 hours. Good. Remember, this might be first contact with an alien species. We need to be careful. Try to communicate. Don't fire unless they fire first. Morrison nodded. Understood, sir. What about the other fleets? The Mars fleet is moving to protect the colonies there. The Europa group is doing the same. If these aliens get past you, Earth will have very little protection. The communication ended, and Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew of 45 men and women were the best Earth had to offer. They had trained for years, but never for something like this. Dr. Hamilton, keep trying to contact them. Use every method you can think of. Music, mathematics, pictures, anything. Hamilton nodded and went back to work. Morrison could see she was scared, but she was doing her job. The next 3 hours passed slowly. The alien ships continued toward Earth without changing course or speed. They ignored every attempt at communication. Long-range sensors showed they were huge, at least 5 times larger than the biggest human ship. Captain, I'm picking up strange readings from their hulls, Torres said. The ships look ... organic, like they were grown instead of built. Morrison studied the sensor data. The alien vessels had smooth, curved surfaces that looked more like giant sea creatures than spaceships. They moved through space in a way that seemed almost alive. 1 hour until intercept, Torres announced. Morrison opened a channel to the other human ships in his group. The UES Warrior and UES Guardian were older vessels, but they carried powerful weapons. This is Morrison. Remember, we try to talk first. If they attack, we defend ourselves and Earth. The captains of the other ships confirmed they understood. 30 minutes later, the alien ships suddenly changed course. They split up, with one heading toward Mars, one toward Europa, and one continuing toward Earth. They're dividing their forces, Torres said. They know about our colonies. Morrison's blood went cold. The aliens had studied humanity. They knew where humans lived and worked. This was not a random encounter. Send a message to Admiral Collins. Tell him the aliens know about our colonies. Dr. Hamilton suddenly looked up from her station. Her face was pale, Captain. I'm receiving something. It's not a response to our messages. It's ... different. Put it on the main screen. Strange symbols appeared on the display. They moved and changed in patterns that hurt to look at. Then Hamilton's computer began translating some of the symbols into words. Quarantine ... enforcement. Containment protocols. Eliminate the threat. Morrison felt his heart stop. They're not here to talk. They're here to kill us. The alien ship heading for Earth suddenly launched dozens of smaller vessels. They spread out in an attack formation that human military leaders had studied for decades. Red alert! All hands to battle stations! Charge weapons and prepare for combat! The Defiant shook as its main guns powered up. The ship's nuclear reactor pushed energy through weapon systems that had never been used in real combat. Incoming message from the alien ship, Hamilton said. Her voice was shaking. Let's hear it. A cold, mechanical voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect English. Human vessels, you will surrender immediately. Your species has been classified as too dangerous for galactic society. You will be contained or eliminated. Morrison stared at the screen. The aliens spoke English. They had been watching humanity for a long time. This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We demand to know why you're attacking peaceful human colonies. The alien voice answered immediately. Your species shows excessive aggression and unpredictable behavior. The Galactic Council has authorized the Zephyrian Enforcement Fleet to maintain your containment. Compliance is required. Morrison looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders. He thought about his wife and children on Earth. He thought about the millions of people living on Mars and Europa. He thought about humanity's dreams of exploring the stars. Tell the Galactic Council that humanity rejects their containment. We have the right to exist. The alien voice became colder. Compliance is not optional. Initiating enforcement protocols. The alien ships opened fire without warning. Beams of energy that glowed like blue lightning struck the human vessels. The EU's Guardian exploded instantly, killing all 200 people on board. Return fire. All weapons, Morrison shouted. Dart the Defiance missiles and energy cannons fired at the alien ship. The weapons hit their target, but seemed to barely damage the smooth hull. Their shields are too strong, Torres said. Our weapons can't get through. Another energy beam hit the U.S. Warrior. The ship's hull cracked open, and atmosphere poured out into space. Morrison watched as the crew fought to save their ship. We need to retreat, Dr. Hamilton said. We can't win this fight. Morrison knew she was right, but he also knew they had to try. If the human fleet ran away, the aliens would destroy Earth's colonies and then attack Earth itself, launch all missiles, full spread, target their weapon systems. The Defiant fired every missile it carried. Some hit the alien ship, creating small explosions on its surface. For a moment, Morrison hoped they had done real damage. Then the alien ship fired again. This time, the energy beam hit the Defiant directly. The ship's lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Morrison could hear the sound of metal bending and breaking. Hull breach on deck 3. We're losing atmosphere, Torres reported. Morrison made a decision that would change everything. All ships, retreat to Earth. We need to warn everyone. The aliens aren't here to make friends. They're here to end us. As the surviving human ships limped back toward Earth, Dr. Hamilton continued monitoring alien communications. What she discovered would shock humanity to its core. The aliens had been watching Earth for over 300 years. They had kept humanity trapped in their own solar system, blocking deep space communications and destroying any human ship that traveled too far from home. Humanity was not alone in the universe. They had been prisoners, and they never knew it. Now the prison walls were coming down, but not in the way anyone had hoped. The aliens were coming to make sure humanity never escaped their cage. The war for human freedom was about to begin. The damaged U.S. Defiant limped back to Earth with its crew working around the clock to keep the ship running. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. Behind them, alien ships were destroying everything. Humans had built beyond their home world. Dr. Lisa Hamilton had not left her station in 18 hours. She was working on the alien communication signals they had captured during the battle. Her eyes were red from staring at computer screens, but she refused to rest. Captain, I think I'm getting somewhere with their language, she said. The computer is starting to recognize patterns. Morrison walked over to her station. What have you found? They call themselves Zephyrians, but they're not the ones in charge. They keep mentioning something called the Galactic Council. It sounds like the Zephyrians work for them. Morrison felt his stomach turn. If the Zephyrians were just employees, how powerful was their boss? There's more, Hamilton continued. They've been watching us for a long time, centuries. They have files on human history, our wars, our technology. they know everything about us. Before Morrison could respond, Lieutenant Ben Torres called out from his station, "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command." Admiral Frank Collins appeared on the screen. His face looked older than it had just a few hours ago. "Morrison, thank God you made it back. What's your status?" "We lost the Guardian completely. The Warrior is badly damaged but still flying. The aliens have superior technology and weapons." "Sir, they've been watching us for hundreds of years." Collins nodded grimly. "We're getting similar reports from Mars and Europa. Commander Amy Ross at Mars Colony managed to damage one of their smaller ships, but she lost half her fleet doing it. The Europa station went completely dark 2 hours ago." Morrison closed his eyes. Europa station housed 50,000 people. "There's an emergency meeting in 1 hour," Collins continued. "President Helen Carter is calling together every leader on Earth. We need to figure out what we're dealing with." The communication ended, and Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was exhausted, but they were still working. They knew that Earth's survival might depend on what they learned from the alien signals. Dr. Hamilton suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, you need to see this." She put the translated alien communications on the main screen. Morrison read the words with growing horror. "Species classification. Human threat level. Class 7. Recommended action. Permanent containment or elimination. Monitoring period. 347 Earth years. Status. Containment breach confirmed. Enforcement protocols activated." Morrison read it again to make sure he understood. "They've been watching us for over 300 years. That's not all," Hamilton said. She brought up more files. "Look at this. They have detailed reports on every major war humans have fought. World War I, World War II, every conflict since then. They decided we were too violent to join their galactic society." Torres looked up from his station. "So they just locked us up, kept us trapped in our own solar system." Hamilton nodded. "It looks like they have some kind of barrier system. Automated stations that jam our deep space communications and destroy any human ship that gets too far from Earth. We never knew we were in a prison." Morrison thought about all the human exploration missions that had simply disappeared over the decades. Ships that had gone to explore other star systems and never returned. Everyone thought they had suffered equipment failures or accidents. Now he knew the truth. 1 hour later, Morrison was sitting in the emergency meeting room deep under Earth Command headquarters. President Helen Carter sat at the head of the table with military leaders, scientists, and government officials filling every chair. General Roy Baker, Earth's top military commander, was speaking. "The alien attacks have destroyed most of our outer colonies. Mars Colony is still fighting, but they won't last long. Europa is gone. The asteroid mining stations are gone. We estimate we've lost over 200,000 people in the last 6 hours. President Carter looked around the table. "What are our options?" Dr. Sam Mitchell, a physicist who worked on advanced weapons, raised his hand. "I've been studying the wreckage from the first battle. The alien ships use technology we don't understand, but I think we might be able to figure out how to fight them." "Explain," Carter said. Doc Mitchell stood up and activated a holographic display. "Their ships seem to communicate with each other using quantum entanglement. It's how they coordinate their attacks so perfectly. If we could disrupt that communication, we might be able to confuse them." General Baker shook his head. "Even if we could disrupt their communications, their weapons are still far superior to ours. We can't win a straight fight." Morrison stood up. "Maybe we don't fight fair." Everyone in the room turned to look at him. Carter gestured for him to continue. "The aliens think we're too violent and unpredictable. What if we prove them right? What if we use tactics they don't expect?" Admiral Collins leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Morrison walked to the display screen. "They fight like they expect us to follow rules. Their attack formations are perfect for fighting other organized fleets. But what if we don't fight like a fleet? What if we fight like pirates or terrorists?" Dr. Mitchell's eyes lit up. "Guerrilla warfare in space. Hit-and-run attacks. Use our smaller ships to strike fast and disappear." General Baker was nodding. "It might work, but we'd need ships that could hide from their sensors. I might be able To help with that, Mitchell said, if I can figure out how their sensor systems work, maybe I can build something to fool them. President Carter stood up. How long do we have? Admiral Collins checked his notes. Long-range sensors show more alien ships coming. Lots more. They'll be here in about 2 weeks. Carter looked around the room. Then we have 2 weeks to turn into something the aliens don't expect. General Baker, I want every military unit on Earth preparing for unconventional warfare. Dr. Mitchell, you have unlimited resources to study their technology. She turned to Morrison. Captain, I want you to work with Commander Ross on Mars. If anyone can teach us how to fight these aliens, it's the people who have already survived their attacks. 3 days later, Morrison was aboard a fast transport ship heading to Mars. The red planet looked different now. Smoke rose from several impact sites where alien weapons had struck the surface. But Mars Colony was still broadcasting, which meant Commander Amy Ross was still alive. Ross met Morrison at the landing pad. She was a small woman with short gray hair and hard eyes. Her uniform was torn and dirty from days of fighting. Captain Morrison, she said, shaking his hand. I heard about what happened to your fleet. I'm sorry about the Guardian. Morrison nodded. I heard you damaged one of their ships. How did you do it? Ross smiled grimly. We cheated. Come on, I'll show you. She led him to a hidden hangar carved into the side of a mountain. Inside was the wreckage of an alien fighter craft. Human technicians were crawling all over it, taking it apart piece by piece. We used mining explosives, Ross explained. Dropped them right in front of one of their small ships as it was chasing our transport. The explosion didn't destroy it, but it damaged the hull enough that it crashed. Morrison stared at the alien technology. It looked even more organic up close, like it had been grown rather than built. The interesting part is what we found inside, Ross continued. She led him to a sealed room where pieces of alien equipment were displayed on tables. Their computers used biological components, living tissue mixed with machine parts. Dr. Mitchell's voice came from behind them. He had arrived on the same transport as Morrison. Fascinating. It's biotechnology far beyond anything we've developed. Ross nodded. But here's the important part. Because it's partly biological, it can be killed. We've been experimenting with different ways to damage their systems. She picked up a small device that looked like a metal cylinder. This is basically a virus bomb. It's designed to attack biological computer systems. We think it might work. On their ships, Morrison felt hope for the first time since the attacks began. How many can you make? That's the problem, Ross said. We need more resources, more scientists, more time. Mitchell was already studying the alien equipment. If we can get this technology back to Earth, we can mass-produce weapons designed specifically to fight them. Morrison looked around the hidden laboratory. Humans were working day and night to understand alien technology that was centuries ahead of their own. It should have been impossible, but humans had always been good at adapting. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have destroyed them. Now they were facing their biggest challenge ever. Morrison thought about the alien message they had intercepted. Humans were classified as too dangerous for galactic society. The aliens thought human violence and unpredictability made them a threat. Maybe it was time to prove them right. Commander Ross, Morrison said, how would you like to help us take this fight to the aliens' home territory? Ross smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Captain, I thought you'd never ask. 6 months had passed since the first alien attacks. Captain Nick Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the stars through the main window. The ship looked like nothing Earth had ever built before. Human engineers had taken the captured alien technology and mixed it with their own designs. The result was a vessel that could travel between star systems in days instead of centuries. But more importantly, it was armed with weapons specifically designed to kill aliens. Chief Engineer Pete Williams walked onto the bridge. His uniform was stained with grease and his hair was messy from working 18-hour days. Captain, the quantum drive is ready. We can jump to the Proxima system whenever you give the order. Hayes nodded. The Proxima Centauri system was humanity's first target. Intelligence reports showed the Zephyrians had built a massive base there to coordinate their attacks on Earth. If the human fleet could destroy that base, it would give Earth some breathing room. Status on the other ships, Hayes asked. The UES Vengeance and UES Freedom are ready to jump. All three ships are loaded with the new virus weapons that Commander Ross developed. Hayes looked at the tactical display. 3 human ships against an entire alien base. 6 months ago, he would have called it suicide. Now he called it the only chance humanity had. Dr. Karen Walsh, the ship's xenopsychologist, was studying reports from the captured Zephyrian prisoner. She had been trying to understand how the aliens thought and fought. Her work had revealed something important about their psychology. "Captain, I think I know why our tactics work so well against them," she said. "The Zephyrians are not natural warriors. They're more like galactic police officers. They're used to dealing with civilized species that follow rules." Hayes turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" "Most galactic species apparently fight in very predictable ways. They line up their fleets, exchange formal challenges, and fight according to ancient traditions. The Zephyrians have never faced an enemy that uses suicide attacks, stealth technology, or psychological warfare." Colonel Jim Parker, the ship's Special Forces commander, laughed. "So we're winning because we fight dirty." Walsh nodded. "Exactly. From their perspective, we're not fighting at all. We're just being chaotic and destructive." Hayes thought about this. Human military doctrine had always emphasized flexibility and adaptation. If the enemy expected one thing, you did something else. It seemed this approach worked even better against aliens than against other humans. "All ships, prepare for quantum jump," Hayes announced over the communication system. The 3 human ships disappeared from Earth's solar system in flashes of blue light. For the first time in human history, they were traveling to another star system to fight a war. The journey to Proxima Centauri took 3 days. When they arrived, long-range sensors immediately detected the alien base. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than the biggest human space station. Hundreds of Zephyrian ships were docked around it. "That's a lot of firepower," Williams said, staring at the sensor readings. Hayes studied the tactical display. The alien base was positioned near Proxima Centauri's second planet. It was surrounded by defensive platforms and patrol ships. Any conventional attack would be detected long before it could reach the target. "Colonel Parker, are your teams ready for the boarding operation?" Parker checked his equipment one more time. "We have 60 Special Forces soldiers spread across the 3 ships. Each team has the new alien killing virus weapons and enough explosives to level a city block." Hayes had studied the base's design using captured alien data. The station had several critical systems that, if destroyed, would cause the entire structure to collapse. But those systems were inside the station, protected by heavy armor and energy shields. The only way to reach them was to put human soldiers inside the alien base. "Dr. Walsh, what can you tell us about Zephyrian psychology under stress?" Walsh consulted her notes. "They're very hierarchical. If we can capture or kill their commanders, the rest of their forces will be confused and disorganized. They're not used to making independent decisions." Hayes nodded. "Then that's our primary objective. We take out their leadership and let chaos do the rest." The attack began at 0300 ship time. The 3 human vessels approached the alien base using stealth technology reverse-engineered from captured Zephyrian equipment. They stayed hidden behind asteroids and space debris until they were within striking distance. "Launch all stealth drones," Hayes ordered. Dozens of small robotic ships launched from the human vessels. They were packed with nuclear warheads and programmed to target the base's defensive systems. The drones moved silently through space, invisible to alien sensors. The first explosions lit up the darkness around the alien base. Nuclear fire tore through defensive platforms that had been built to stop energy weapons, not primitive atomic bombs. The Zephyrians had never encountered nuclear weapons before. "Their shields are down," Williams reported. The drones took out most of their defensive grid. Hayes smiled grimly. "All ships, attack pattern Delta. Target their communication arrays first." The 3 human ships charged toward the alien base, firing everything they had. Missiles, energy cannons, and kinetic weapons struck the station's hull. But more importantly, they were causing panic among the Zephyrian defenders. "They're trying to launch their ships," the tactical officer reported, "but they're having trouble coordinating. Their communications are jammed." This was exactly what Hayes had hoped for. The human attack was designed to create maximum confusion rather than maximum damage. While the aliens were trying to figure out what was happening, human special forces teams were already on their way. Colonel Parker led the first boarding party through a breach in the station's hull. His soldiers moved quickly through corridors that were designed for aliens, not humans. They planted virus bombs in critical computer systems and set explosive charges in key structural points. The Zephyrians tried to stop them, but their weapons were designed for fighting in open space, not inside their own base. Human soldiers used the station's tight corridors and multiple levels to their advantage, fighting a guerrilla war inside the alien stronghold. "We've reached the command center," Parker reported over the radio. "There are dozens of aliens in here, but they're not fighting. They're just standing there." Hayes frowned. "What do you mean standing there?" "They look confused, sir. Like they don't know what to do without orders from their superiors." Dr. Walsh leaned over to Hayes. "That fits their psychology. Without clear command structure, they become paralyzed." Hayes made a decision that would change the course of the war. "Colonel, capture their commander alive. We need to send a message to the Galactic Council." 20 minutes later, Parker reported success. "We have the station commander in custody. The virus bombs have destroyed most of their computer systems. This base is finished." But Hayes wasn't done yet. He ordered his communications officer to activate the station's long-range transmitter. For the first time in over 3 years, humans were going to speak directly to the Galactic Council. "This is Captain Nick Hayes of the Earth Defense Force." He broadcast on all frequencies. "We are transmitting from the Zephyrian base at Proxima Centauri, which is now under human control. We have a message for the Galactic Council." Hayes paused, thinking about what to say next. These words would determine whether humanity gained respect or faced total extermination. "For over 300 years, you have kept humanity trapped in our own solar system. You decided we were too dangerous for your civilization. You were right. We are dangerous. We are unpredictable. We fight dirty and we don't follow your rules." He looked around his bridge at the crew members who had risked everything to get this far. "But we are also here to stay. We reject your quarantine. We reject your classification of our species. We demand the right to exist in this galaxy, and we're prepared to fight for that right." Hayes gestured to his tactical officer, who displayed images of the destroyed Zephyrian base. "This is what happens when you try to cage humanity. We don't just break out of prisons. We burn them down. If you want to talk, we'll talk. If you want to fight, we'll fight. But we will never again accept being locked away like animals." The transmission ended, and Hayes turned to his crew. "All ships, prepare for immediate departure. They'll send everything they have after us now." As the 3 human ships prepared to jump back to Earth, long-range sensors detected massive alien fleets mobilizing across multiple star systems. The Galactic Council was no longer treating humanity as a containment problem. They were treating them as a threat to the entire galaxy. Dr. Walsh was monitoring alien communications. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from at least 12 different species. They're all heading toward Earth." Hayes nodded. He had expected this. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 2 weeks before the first fleets arrive." Hayes looked out at the stars one more time before the quantum drive activated. Somewhere out there, the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy were preparing to destroy his species. But for the first time since the war began, Hayes felt optimistic. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they were no longer prisoners. Now they had to prove they could fight for their freedom. The trip home would give them time to prepare for the biggest battle in human history. Ambassador Tony Clark had never expected to become humanity's first interstellar diplomat. 3 weeks ago, he had been a retired military officer, living quietly on his farm in Texas. Now he was sitting in the communication center of Earth Command, preparing to speak with beings from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had responded to humanity's message from Proxima Centauri. They were offering to talk, but their words carried a clear threat. Either humanity accepted new terms for their containment, or they would face complete destruction. President Helen Carter stood behind Clark as he prepared for the most important conversation in human history. "Remember, Tony, We're not begging for mercy. We're demanding our rights. Clark nodded. He had spent the last week studying everything humanity had learned about galactic politics. Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's expert on alien cultures, had briefed him on how to speak with the Council without appearing weak. The key is to show them we're not afraid, Turner had explained. In galactic society, fear equals weakness. If they think we're weak, they'll destroy us just to set an example for other species. The communication screen activated, showing 12 different alien faces. Each one represented a major civilization that ruled vast portions of the galaxy. Clark had memorized their names and species, but seeing them for the first time was still shocking. The leader of the council was a tall, thin being with silver skin and large black eyes. Its name was Counselor Vex of the Altarian Collective. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music mixed with machine noise. Human representative, Vex said, you will explain why your species has violated galactic law by attacking a lawful enforcement operation. Clark looked directly into the alien's black eyes. Counselor Vex, humanity rejects the authority of your enforcement operation. We were never given a chance to prove ourselves worthy of galactic society. Your quarantine was imposed without trial or justification. Another council member, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles angrily. Your species has demonstrated excessive violence and unpredictable behavior patterns. The evidence is clear in your historical records. Clark had prepared for this argument. Yes, humans have fought wars, but we've also created art, music, literature, and science. We've shown the capacity for both destruction and creation. Isn't that true of all intelligent species? A third council member, something that resembled a floating jellyfish made of light, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. The difference is scale and irrationality. Your species engages in conflicts over resources that could be shared, territories that are meaningless, and concepts that have no logical basis. Clark felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What you call irrational, we call passionate. What you call excessive, we call determined. These traits have allowed humanity to survive and thrive in a hostile universe. Counselor Vex leaned forward. Your determination and passion are precisely why you cannot be allowed into galactic society. You would disrupt the peace that has existed for thousands of years. Clark smiled coldly. What peace? Dr. Turner tells me that your borders are constantly threatened by hostile forces. Your outer colonies are being raided by pirates and aggressive species that don't follow your rules. How peaceful is a society that needs armed enforcers to keep primitive species locked up? The council members exchanged glances. Clark could see he had touched on something they didn't want to discuss. Those threats are manageable, Vex said. They do not require the introduction of a chaotic element like humanity. Clark leaned back in his chair. Counselor, let me be completely clear about humanity's position. We will not accept permanent containment. We will not accept status in galactic society. We demand full membership with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The insect-like council member clicked loudly. Impossible! Your species lacks the maturity for such responsibility. Then test us, Clark said. Give us a trial, period. Let us prove our worth through our actions, not your prejudices. Counselor Vex was quiet for a long moment. Finally it spoke. The council will consider your request. But first, your species must cease all aggressive actions and return to your home system? Clark shook his head. I'm afraid that's impossible. Even as we speak, human fleets are establishing defensive positions in 7 different star systems. We will not retreat back into our cage. The floating jellyfish creature pulsed with angry colors. Then you force us to respond with overwhelming force. A coalition fleet is already being assembled. Thousands of ships from multiple species. Clark had expected this threat. Let me tell you what will happen if you attack Earth with your coalition fleet. You'll win, probably. Your technology is superior to ours. But you'll pay a price you're not expecting. He activated a display showing recent human military developments. In the past 6 months, humanity has built over 300 warships. Using captured alien technology, they're not as advanced as your vessels, but they're designed with one purpose, to take as many of you with us as possible. The council members stared at the images of human ships, armed with nuclear weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and the virus weapons developed from captured Zephyrian technology. Your civilized species fight according to rules and traditions, Clark continued. You limit casualties and avoid destroying valuable resources. Humans don't follow those rules. If you attack Earth, we'll make sure the victory costs you more than you're willing to pay. While Clark was speaking with the Galactic Council, Admiral Betty Stone was preparing for the largest space battle in human history. Her fleet of 200 ships was positioned around Earth, ready to face an enemy force that outnumbered them 10 to 1. Captain Sue Jenkins, Stone's intelligence officer, was monitoring alien communications. Admiral, the Coalition fleet will be here in 3 days. I count ships from at least 5 different species. The Altarians, the Zephyrians, some kind of energy beings, and to others I can't identify. Stone studied the tactical displays. The alien fleet was massive, but it was also diverse. Ships from different species would have different capabilities and weaknesses. More importantly, they would have different tactical doctrines. Any signs they've worked together before? Stone asked. Jenkins shook her head. From what I can tell, this is the first time many of these species have fought side by side. They're still arguing about command structure and battle plans. Stone smiled. Humanity's best chance was to attack before the aliens could coordinate their forces effectively. All ships, prepare for advanced deployment. We're not waiting for them to reach Earth. Stone's plan was typically human in its audacity. Instead of defending Earth, she would take most of the fleet out to meet the aliens halfway. The goal was not to win a conventional battle, but to cause so much damage and confusion that the aliens would be forced to negotiate. The human fleet jumped to the edge of the solar system, where they waited for the Coalition to arrive. When the alien ships appeared, Stone immediately ordered the attack. Human ships charged directly at the alien formation, firing nuclear missiles and kinetic weapons. Several human vessels were destroyed in the first few minutes, but they managed to break through the aliens' defensive line. The aliens had expected humans to fight defensively, protecting their home world. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed willing to sacrifice everything for the chance to inflict damage. Captain Jenkins monitored the alien communications during the battle. Admiral, they're panicking. The Altarian commander is screaming at the Zephyrians for poor intelligence. The energy beings are complaining that human tactics violate the laws of civilized warfare. Stone laughed grimly. Good, let them argue. While we shoot them, the battle raged for 6 hours. Humanity lost 60% of their fleet, but the aliens lost 30% of theirs. More importantly, the Coalition was falling apart as different species blamed each other for the unexpected casualties. When the aliens finally retreated, Stone found herself in command of the wreckage of the human fleet. But Earth was still free, and the galaxy had learned that attacking humanity came with a terrible price. On the communication screen, Ambassador Clark was still talking with the Galactic Council. The alien leaders looked shaken by reports from the battle. As you can see, Clark said calmly, humanity is prepared to fight for our freedom. We're not asking for your permission to exist. We're informing you that we will exist, whether you like it or not. Counselor Vex was quiet for a long time. When it finally spoke, its voice was different, less arrogant, more cautious. The council will convene a formal hearing to determine humanity's status. You will be permitted to present your case according to galactic law. Clark nodded. We accept your offer of a trial, but understand this. If the trial is rigged, if you've already decided our fate, we'll know, and we'll respond accordingly. The communication ended, leaving Clark alone with President Carter. Do you think they're serious about giving us a fair trial? Carter asked. Clark looked out the window at the stars, where human and alien ships had just finished trying to kill each other. I think they're scared, he said. They expected us to beg for mercy or die quietly. Instead, we showed them that humans will fight for our freedom no matter the cost. Judge Advocate Ryan Murphy stood in the center of the largest courtroom he had ever seen. The ceiling stretched up so high he could barely see it, and the walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Around him sat representatives from 12 different alien species, all staring down at the small group of humans who would decide their species' fate. Murphy had been a military lawyer for 20 years, but he had never faced a case like this. If he lost, every human being in the galaxy would be marked for extermination. If he won, humanity would earn a place among the stars. President Helen Carter had chosen him personally for this job. Ryan, she had said, you're not just defending humanity in court, you're defending our right to exist. Now, Murphy looked up at the Galactic Council members who would judge his species. Counselor Vex of the Altarian Collective sat in the center. Its silver skin reflecting the crystal walls. To its left was the insect-like being that had spoken so angrily during the earlier negotiations. To its right floated the jellyfish creature made of light. The trial of the human species will now begin, Vex announced. Its musical voice echoed through the vast courtroom. The charges are violation of galactic containment protocols, unprovoked aggression against lawful enforcement operations, and general unfitness for civilized society. Murphy stepped forward. Behind him sat the rest of humanity's delegation. Dr. Grace Lee, the anthropologist who would explain human culture, Captain Dan Foster, who would provide military testimony, and Fleet Admiral Chris Taylor, the supreme commander of all human forces. Honored Council, Murphy began. Humanity stands before you not as criminals, but as a species that has been wrongly imprisoned. For over 300 years, you have kept us locked in our own solar system without trial, without explanation, and without the chance to prove our worth. The prosecutor, a tall Altarian with skin like polished metal, rose from its seat. The human species was classified as too dangerous based on extensive observation of their behavior patterns. The evidence clearly shows excessive violence, irrational decision-making, and unpredictable aggression. Murphy had expected this argument. Your Honor, I request permission to present evidence about the true nature of human behavior. Counselor! Vex gestured for him to continue. Murphy activated a holographic display that showed images from human history. Yes! Humans have fought wars, but look at what else we have accomplished. We have created art that moves us to tears, music that lifts our spirits, and literature that explores the deepest questions of existence. The display showed paintings, sculptures, symphonies, and books that represented the best of human creativity. We have also shown remarkable compassion, Murphy continued. Humans risk their lives to save strangers. We care for our sick and elderly. We have organizations dedicated to helping people we have never met and will never see again. The council member clicked its mandibles dismissively. All species create art and show compassion within their own groups. What makes humans unique is their tendency toward irrational violence against their own kind. Murphy nodded. That brings me to my first witness. Dr. Grace Lee stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her voice was strong and clear as she spoke to the council. Honored judges, I have spent my life studying human behavior and evolution. Yes, humans are capable of violence, but this violence has a purpose that your analysis has missed. The floating jellyfish creature pulsed with curious colors. Explain. Lee activated her own display, showing images of human evolution and development. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases, natural disasters. Any species that survived in that environment had to be aggressive, adaptable, and willing to fight for every advantage. She changed the display to show human settlements and cities. But humans also had to cooperate on a massive scale to survive. We built civilizations, shared knowledge, and worked together on projects that took generations to complete. We are both aggressive and cooperative, violent and peaceful, depending on what the situation requires. The Altarian prosecutor stood up. This confirms our assessment. A species with such contradictory traits cannot be trusted in galactic society. Lee shook her head. With respect, Counselor, I think your assessment misses the point. Human adaptability is not a weakness. It's our greatest strength. She changed the display again, showing recent human achievements. In the 6 months since you first attacked us, humans have reverse-engineered alien technology that took your species centuries to develop. We have created new weapons, new ships, and new tactics that have surprised military experts from across the galaxy. Captain Dan Foster stepped forward to give his testimony. He was a young man with scars on his face from the recent battles, but his voice was steady as he spoke. Honored Council, I want to tell you about something that happened during the Battle of Sol. My ship was damaged and losing atmosphere. An Altarian vessel was nearby, also damaged and drifting. The council members leaned forward, interested in hearing about the battle from a human perspective. According to your own reports, humans are supposed to be irrationally violent. But when I saw that Altarian crew was in trouble, I ordered my ship to rescue them. We saved 43 Altarian lives, even though we were in the middle of a battle. The insect-like council member clicked in what might have been surprised. You saved enemy personnel during combat. Foster nodded. Humans fight when we have to, but we don't kill when we don't have to. The Altarian crew members we rescued can confirm this. We treated them well and returned them safely after the battle. Murphy saw several council members exchanging glances. This was clearly not what they had expected to hear. Fleet Admiral Chris Taylor stood up for the final human testimony. He was an older man with white hair and the bearing of someone who had commanded others in desperate situations. Counselors, Taylor began. Captain Foster mentioned the Altarian crew we rescued. But there's something else you should know about that battle. Taylor activated a tactical display showing the Battle of Sol from beginning to end. Your coalition fleet attacked Earth with over 2,000 ships. Humanity defended with fewer than 300 vessels. By any logical analysis, we should have been completely destroyed. The display showed the movement of ships during the battle, with human vessels highlighted in blue and alien ships in red. But humans don't always follow logical patterns. When faced with impossible odds, we become more dangerous, not less. When you tried to destroy us, we fought harder than you thought possible. Taylor changed the display to show casualty reports. Your forces lost over 600 ships in that battle, not because human technology was superior, but because humans were willing to sacrifice everything to protect their home. Counselor Vex leaned forward. Are you saying that human irrationality is actually an advantage? Taylor smiled grimly. I'm saying that what you call irrational, we call determined. When humans believe in something strongly enough, we will fight for it against any odds. He looked around at all the council members. But here's what you might not understand. Humans don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for anyone we consider part of our group. And once we accept someone as an ally, we will die to protect them. The Altarian prosecutors stood up again. The defendant's testimony only confirms that humans are unpredictable and potentially dangerous to galactic stability. Murphy stepped forward for his closing argument. Honored Council, the prosecution is correct. Humans are unpredictable. We are potentially dangerous. We don't always follow the rules that govern galactic society. He paused, looking each council member in the eye. But maybe that's exactly what galactic society needs. Murphy activated one final display, showing intelligence reports about threats to galactic civilization. According to your own records, the galaxy faces increasing dangers from hostile forces beyond your borders. Pirates, aggressive species, unknown threats that your traditional methods cannot handle. The display showed attacks on galactic colonies, raids on shipping routes, and unexplored regions where dangerous entities might be lurking. You have tried to maintain peace through order, cooperation, and following established rules. But some enemies don't follow rules. Some threats can't be reasoned with or contained through diplomacy. Murphy gestured toward the human delegation. Humans offer something different. We offer the ability to fight unconventionally, to adapt quickly, and to never give up no matter how bad the situation becomes. He walked closer to the council's platform. You classified humanity as too dangerous for galactic society. I propose that we are exactly dangerous enough to protect galactic society from threats you cannot handle alone. The courtroom fell silent. Counselor Vex and the other council members spoke among themselves in languages the human translation devices could not interpret. Finally, Vex announced the council's decision. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, the Galactic Council has reached a verdict. Murphy felt his heart pounding as he waited for words that would determine humanity's future. The The human species will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, Vex continued. However, this membership comes with specific conditions.